Are you finding it a challenge to take photos without grain or noise in the image? Well, stay tuned because coming up next, I will explain how to reduce this and what ISO is all about. Hello and welcome to Jeeves Tried This. My name is Tony and this channel is all about photography and video process and equipment reviews. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe by tapping the subscribe button below. Here you can stay up to date with all of our new tutorials and reviews and watch through some of the reviews and the tutorials that we've previously made. Throughout this video, watch out for links that I'll put above, and these will take you to other videos that we have made that I think would be helpful in your journey to becoming a great photographer. It's a challenge for new photographers and even someone that hasn't taken photos for years to take good quality photos without grain or noise in them, and this comes down to not understanding how exactly ISO works and what it does. A camera's ISO is one of the three core elements to photography, and the other two being aperture and shutter speed. And every photographer should thoroughly understand the ISO to get the most out of their camera. In this video, I will try to explain the ISO as simple as I can, so please bear with me. So what is ISO? Well, ISO is the level of sensitivity that your camera can handle to the available light. The lower the ISO number, the less sensitive. The higher the ISO number, the more sensitive it is to the light. The component in your camera that can change sensitivity is called the image sensor. It's the most important part of the camera and it's responsible for gathering all of the light and transforming it into an image. With increased sensitivity, your camera's sensor can capture images in low light situations without having to use a flash. However, higher sensitivity comes with a price. It adds grain or noise to the image. Take a look at these two pictures. The difference between these two images are quite clear. The image on the right hand side at ISO 6400 has a lot more noise in it than the one on the left hand side, which only has an ISO of 100. Every camera has a base ISO, which is the lowest ISO number the sensor can go to produce the highest quality image without adding noise or grain to the picture. On most of the new Nikon cameras, the base ISO is typically 200, and most Canon digital cameras, the base ISO is 100. So if you want to get the best image quality as possible, you should try to stick to these base ISO numbers. Now, it is not always possible to do this, especially when working in low light situations, where you have to bump up the ISO. ISO numbers start from 100 to 200, and these are your base ISOs, unless you have a camera that can go down to, say, ISO 50. And then these increment in value in geometric progression, so the power of 2. For instance, the ISO sequence is 100, 200, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. The important thing to understand is that each step between these numbers doubles the sensitivity of the sensor. So ISO 800 is twice more sensitive than ISO 400, while ISO 1600 is twice more sensitive than ISO 800. This makes the ISO 1600 16 times more sensitive to light than ISO 100, and so on. So what does it mean when a sensor is 16 times more sensitive to light? Well, it means it needs 16 times less time to capture an image. For example, look at this table. If your camera's sensor needed exactly 1 second to capture a scene at ISO 100, simply by switching to ISO 800, you can capture the same scene at 1/8 of a second. That can mean a world of difference in photography, since it can help freeze the motion. Take a look at this picture. Now, what would have happened if I had ISO 100 on my camera instead? Well, my sensor would have needed 8 times more time to capture that same scene, which is 1/250th of a second. At that speed, I would have introduced motion blur into my picture. And to be honest, I probably would have ruined that picture. So when do you need to use a low ISO? Well, as I've said, you should always try to stick with the lowest ISO, which is your base ISO of your camera, which is typically 100 or 200. Now, when there is plenty of light, you should always use the lowest ISO to retain the most detail, to have the highest quality image. There are some cases where you might want to use a low ISO in dim or dark environments. For example, if you have your camera mounted on a tripod or sitting on a flat surface. In that case, bear in mind that your camera will most likely need more time to capture that scene, and anything that is moving is probably going to look like a ghost and give you some motion blur. No, my house is not actually haunted by a beautiful blonde lady. That in fact is my beautiful wife, who is very much alive. So when do you need to increase your ISO? You should increase your ISO when there is not enough light for the camera to be able to quickly capture an image. So anytime I shoot indoors without a flash, I set my ISO to the highest number to be able to capture that moment without introducing blur to the image. Other cases could be where you might want to increase ISO when you need to get ultra fast shots, like this picture. Before you increase the ISO, you should think if it is okay for you to introduce noise into this image. On newer DSLRs, there is a setting for auto ISO, which works great in low light environments. And the good thing about this setting is that you can set the ISO to a maximum number. So, if you are using auto ISO, the camera will not go above that setting. You can still have control over the grain and noise in your pictures. For example, if you want to control the grain or noise, you should say, set the ISO to 800 and have the peace of mind that your camera will not let the ISO go above 800 and introduce noise. So grab your camera and set the ISO to 100 or 200 and take some photos. Then set it to 400 or 800 and take some more. Then try 1600 and 3200 and upload these to your computer and zoom in 100%. Compare these images and you can then see for yourself how and when grain starts to appear in your photos. So I hope this quick tutorial has helped you in some way, and if it has, please give us a like and leave a comment below. To stay up to date with what we do, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And you can even visit us and follow us at our website, which is www.jeevestriedthis.com. If you haven't yet done so, don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.